Hey there! You might not have noticed, but I took a week off because I finished writing my novel and then I moved around everything in my entire apartment for no reason. Then my monitor broke, which sort of delayed this video a little while longer than I would have liked. New one was a bit expensive. Please donate to my Patreon. Although this has been very good for my sub count because on YouTube, the less you upload, the more subscribers you get. In any case, I am here to tell you to eat the bugs. Look, I know everyone's been running around saying, oh no, I will not eat the bugs, you cannot make me. And that is completely true. I cannot make you eat the bugs, and I will not make you eat the bugs. I won't make a vegetarian eat a steak. That would be fucked up. If you don't want to eat the bugs, don't eat the bugs. That is your free choice to make. But it's actually kind of a good idea to eat the bugs. From a nutritional standpoint alone, they are an incredibly healthy food option. The bugs are packed with protein, more than pretty much any other meat or vegetarian option that you can get. Unless it's, like highly processed protein powder or stuff like that. If you're lifting, trying to build muscle, even heal from injury, just putting a scoop of cricket powder into your protein milkshake, very, very nice thing. It'll fuel all of that big muscle construction. They're low in carbohydrates, but they do have some of them, so they will give you some of that immediately available energy that you get from carbs. But the thing about carbs is that we have too much of them, and they are nutritionally pretty much the main contributing factor as to why we are all very fat. They're great if you work out in the fields every day, but they're not very good for sedentary lifestyles. Insects also come with a decent amount of fat, not quite as much as some others, but the fat is better. And I see a lot of people recoiling right now. Oh no, isn't fat what makes you fat? It is literally fat. It isn't, it really isn't. In fact, there's some studies that suggest that most people that don't have special dietary requirements or lead a particularly active lifestyle should be getting most of their calories from fat. It's just that for a few decades now, and rather a few decades, carb-rich food industries, especially big sugar, have put a lot of money into making you think that fat is the problem. But the big kicker with the fat is that it's mostly unsaturated fatty acids as opposed to saturated fatty acids, which is what you will find in most of your diet, in which you want to have less of in favor of the other one. Saturated fatty acids are found primarily in animal products, and they increase lipid levels, so fat levels in your bloodstream, primarily cholesterol, which you need. You do need some amount of cholesterol in your blood, but you tend to have too much of it in the way that modern diets work, especially in the United States, but really all over the West. Too much of that will really increase your risk of heart disease. Unsaturated fatty acids, on the other hand, they're found primarily in plants, and they're actually very good for your body. They, in many ways, do the opposite of saturated fatty acids. Those are vital to many processes in the body. Probably even most metabolic processes of the body need unsaturated fatty acids. You cannot produce them yourselves, and insects specifically are very heavy in omega-3, which I couldn't easily summarize to you what it does because it does so many essential things. And you've heard about omega-3, you know what I'm talking about, you know that having omega-3 is good for you. Point is, eating bugs, primarily unsaturated fatty acids, but also some saturated fatty acids so you can get your cholesterol needs met. It's the total package. It's kind of like you're eating vegetables, but you are in fact eating animals. Which brings me to fiber. You know how you need to eat more fiber? And how meat tends to not have any fiber in it? Insects do. Actually, crickets have more fiber in them than green beans. They also have more iron, which is very good for muscle growth, muscle function, oxygenation, which is an essential part of muscle function, of course, than spinach, which is known to be a very iron-rich food. They have more calcium, which is essential for having strong bones, than milk. Zinc, too, which is essential for having a very strong, stable, resilient immune system. It blows most meats out of the water with. There are some, like beef, that have more, but not really much more. I don't like the word superfood. I think it's dumb, pretentious, and anything that gets called a superfood turns out to be, good, but it's not as super as the word superfood implies. But let's be honest here for a second, bugs really do supply a lot of very essential nutrients in a very healthy and efficient manner. And efficient is really the big keyword when it comes to the second big reason why you should at least try to eat the bugs. They're very good for the environment. I said this before, but it is true that we should all maybe try to become a little more vegan. It's very good for the environment. But also, I'm not gonna stop eating meat and animal products completely. I'm not gonna do that. I actually need animal protein to function properly. A lot of people do. We're also gonna grow into being a lot more people in the coming decades, so we really need ways to feed more people healthily in a good way, while at the same time cutting back on water usage, land usage, and greenhouse gas emissions. Crickets outperform every other kind of livestock in every single one of these categories to an insane extent. And the same is true about most insects. One of the big realities of making animal protein is that for every kilo that you get of animal protein, you need more than 1 kilo of feedstock to feed to the animal that eventually supplies the animal protein. This means you need more space to grow more vegetables, you have more farms, more people in third world countries working in horrific conditions, being exploited by international conglomerates. To produce 1 kilo of beef, you need 10 kilos of feedstock. To produce 1 kilo of pork, you need 5 kilos of feedstock. To produce 1 kilo of chicken, you need 2.5 kilos of feedstock. To produce a kilo of cricket, you need 1.7 kilos of feedstock. No fish or mammal can beat this ratio. None. When it comes to water usage, beef needs 150 liters of water per kilo. Even chicken, the reigning efficiency champion, needs 40 liters per kilo. Crickets, less than 1. Crickets need less than a liter of water per kilo of cricket. Land usage, when it comes to all the animals, varies rather a lot, depending on the conditions that you're trying to keep the animals in. Obviously, better conditions for the animals, which is more ethical, needs more space, which has increased land usage, which is its own kind of problem. For a kilo of beef, you need anywhere between 150 and 250 square meters of land, and this does include the land that you need to grow the food to give to the cows. For chickens, it's 44 to 55 square meters. For crickets, it's 20 square meters, and you don't really have to worry about ethically keeping the crickets where each one of them has enough space to let the creative juices flow. They're fucking crickets. They don't give a shit. But here's the big one. Greenhouse gases. Especially methane, which happens a lot in agricultural industry, which is, it's a stronger greenhouse gas than CO2, but doesn't contribute as much to the overall greenhouse gas stuff, because there's just so much CO2 out there in the atmosphere. But still, methane a major contributor to climate change. A kilo of beef, throughout its process of being made available to people, puts out into the atmosphere 2,850 times as much greenhouse gas emissions as a kilo of cricket. And no, it is not 2,850 times more nutritious. Even the chicken, which once again, very efficient, puts out 300 times as much in greenhouse gases as crickets. Insects are extremely healthy and nutritious, and very good for the environment. I'm not saying, get rid of all beef, no more beef, farmers, boo, we can't have chicken anymore because of the environment. I'm saying maybe get some of that capacity and get some of the nutritional value that people need out of insects. Maybe try and make them palatable to people in the West and to people in other areas of the world. In the war against climate change, food is one of the most essential battlegrounds, and every victory that we win there, especially one that's as significant as this, is worth quite a lot. But of course, let's be honest, Most of us don't really care. We all know it's better for the environment if we were at least vegetarian. We know this. But we're not. Really, it's mainly a systemic problem anyway. Like the top 100 corporations that do emissions do 71% of all emissions. I've said this before, I will say it again. I don't think pissing down on regular people from your high horse is gonna do much to convince those people of your position. If anything, it will make matters worse. The simple truth is, bugs are icky. And people do not like eating things that are icky. Shocking, I know. There's a lot of different kinds of bugs that I don't really see myself eating, and I'm the kind of person who goes, yeah, let me try some of that. Especially grubs absolutely disgust me. There's a whole bunch of bugs that I will not consider eating so long as they are shaped like bugs. There's nothing wrong with this. I also don't eat eggs or drink coffee for this exact reason. I don't like it. And there's quite a few people who have been trying to give eating insects a bit of an image change in the West, which is entirely possible, because not so long ago, we Westerners, and really, once again, most of the world, was rather disgusted at the notion of eating raw fish, and now we are all over sushi. But the way that it's being done really just reminds me of vegans in all the wrong ways. Because I have expressed interest in eating bugs in the past, of course, social media will often present me with content on eating. I mean, it's not that often, but sometimes something will run across my feed that's about eating bugs. Usually, this is just someone who is having a bug-based dish, most often a salad, which is the place where you least want to see bugs, and they have some crickets in there as crunchy croutons, and they are very distinctly bug-shaped, and they will eat the forkful of the salad and go, delicious. This is not how you sell eating bugs to people. This kind of thing might work if you have like a toddler who is apprehensive about eating something, but it turns out that the overwhelming majority of the people that might run across this on social media are in fact, and you should maybe sit down for this, adults. To an adult, you look like a fart-huffing weirdo who just gets off on eating bugs and then morally grandstanding about it to everyone else. This kind of stuff only works for people who already agree with you, and those are not the people you are trying to convince. And yes, absolutely, from a culinary standpoint, bugs do have a lot to offer. Billions of people already eat them pretty much every day in some capacity. There's a huge culinary culture around like how to use them as ingredients and make them taste good. They're an extremely versatile food. There's a lot of flavors and textures in there that you can achieve by cooking, processing them in various different ways. Beetles alone make up like half of all the species of animal in the world. Consider all the diversity that exists in like food, just all of food, and that exists again in the world of insects. The American giant water bug tastes like a salty combination of banana and watermelon. Most species of ant taste a little bit sour because of the acids that they have stored inside of their bodies, but there's actually one in Brazil that produces chemical compounds that are essentially chemically identical to the chemical compounds that you find in citrus fruits. So they taste like crunchy lemons. Leafcutter ants apparently taste like a combination of bacon and pistachio. Roasted sago grub, just bacon. Crickets are a bit like off-brand Parmesan cheese. Cicadas are somewhere between peanuts and almonds. Termites taste like carrots. Insects are served regularly in some of the best restaurants in the world by chefs who have Michelin stars falling out of their asses. I really think the main problem that people have with eating bugs is that they think about eating bugs, they think about a skewer of cicadas or a bowl of termites, and they are disgusted. This right here, this shit, it don't look appetizing. It does not. I would not eat this. I will not eat this. Not wanting to eat bugs because we associate them with pestilence and disease is very deeply culturally rooted here in the West, and also in most of the world. And that is completely fine. It is not, in fact, racist to not want to eat bugs, as some people are very fond of claiming. When the Japanese tried to popularize sushi in the West, they didn't just pop out the kusaya and go, oh, look at this literal rotten fish that we put in a fucking barrel for months, and it's just black. And just thinking about it gives even Japanese people, they revolt against the notion of eating this. No! They made sushi with fish that Westerners liked, even if it wasn't particularly popular in Japan at the time. They experimented around a bit to help people grow acquainted with the idea of eating sushi, more comfortable with it, and then, slowly, they sprang the more serious stuff on them, and now it's a staple of global food. There's some variants of sushi that you just don't get outside of Japan because Westerners just don't like them. The same thing needs to happen with bugs. There is a huge difference between eating a salad with crunchy cicadas in them versus putting a scoop of cicada powder into your protein shake. The bug does not need to be the main star of the show to remind everyone at all times that you eat bug. I know that you do this because you like to feel as though you are special, but it turns out that most people are not you. You can make bug ingredients that don't look like bug. They still remain their nutritional value, they still retain their flavor. We live in a world where molecular gastronomy exists. Food scientists are wizards. How about you take some of the milder tasting insects, like cicadas, the ones that don't have very intense flavor, and you process them into some dish base that we use in everyday dishes like rice or pasta, where it's not the main thing that we have, but it's the surrounding stuff that we add onto it that we can use then to fill it up with pasta. Grind very flavorful bugs down into spices. Could even be the kinds of spices that you need a lot of to notice some of them. Those exist. They're common in many cuisines. People will eat that shit. Anything to make them actually palatable to the people that you're trying to sell them to, because the current approach is not going to be fraught with a lot of success. Because what I'm seeing right now is that you're basically threatening to force feed people insects. That's what I see. Oh no, never eat a steak again, steak evil. You need to eat all bugs, all the time, using fucking guilt as a sales tactic. People are tired of that shit. Instead of, trying to actually compromise with people, to the people that you're trying to get to buy this shit, to make products that they will actually be comfortable eating, just take one step back from trying to gratify your own sense of moral superiority for a second. And this could work. Stop trying to sell the bug aspects of bug. Nobody wants to see that shit. Thank you very much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, share this to your relevant communities, but do not spam them. Consider supporting me on Patreon or Subscribestar, buying some of my merchandise or my short story collection. And in that spirit, the book, I'm probably not going to self-publish the book. I'm still, I'm in the shopping phase right now, trying to send it out to some people. The publishing industry is a very slow behemoth. It might take a while until we actually hear anything more from that. And see you around, cunts.